Hello, my homies. One smart cat doing some patch notes. I don't have any gameplay today. That's not completely true. I actually put out a video right before they did all the patch notes and stuff because I didn't know that was happening today. I mean, I'm sure they mentioned it. I think they said something about the servers going down, and I just wasn't paying attention. I did a whole nother video. Go watch that video. You can I'll put the little stamp up here in the corner if you want to check out that other video. But they did release the patch notes. The servers are currently down as they put all the stuff in, and let's go through the notes. I'm gonna skim through some of the stuff. Like, I'm not gonna read every single thing that they're doing. There's the new Spellslinger that's coming out. I have done a video on her and like how I plan on countering her whenever she comes out. These are her tidbits if you want to take a look at them. Now with the balance changes, we have Miss Sarah losing a health point, and Sarah's disciple losing also a health point, actually. They say that they're trying to weaken her a bit against aggro, and honestly, weakening her at all is a good thing because she's not like super oppressive, but if you don't get ahead of her, then you know she ends up having 40 health just from the constant health gain, the passive health gain. But that's a good little nudge on her. I don't see any issues with that. Jace gained a health. I'm assuming they want to. They say that they want him to be more control-y. As far as like control decks go, he's falling behind on pretty much everybody else. Teferi and Ral and anybody else who's able to dominate the field. So they want Jace to be up there with them. Gave him a little health point if it helps him. Teferi got a couple of nerfs. He's still very strong even with the nerfs. So his 325 Acolyte is now a 324 Acolyte. That brings it down a little bit, and it makes it so that, you know, after a couple of turns, some 2/2 creatures will eventually be able to take it out. Instead of 3 turns, it'll only take 2. So getting it brought down a little bit is beneficial, but it's still a very strong card, and it's still something that every Teferi deck is going to use for the fact that it lowers the cost of their traps. So that card's not going to go anywhere. It's nice that it got a little bit nerfed, I guess, but it's still very good. The Absorb, the developers here say that, you know, getting your card countered and then also Teferi healing for 3 just felt really bad. And you know what? It did. It sucks. The Teferi counter literally made like tons of people just start using spells that were under 3 costs just so that they didn't have to worry about being Teferi counted. So they made the healing down to 2. I honestly think they could have done it even more. Like, I would have had no issues with it, with the healing being down to 1. I mean, it counters any sort of big game-changing card. Not that there's not, you know, lower cost cards that can affect the game, but any big game-changing card is gonna get countered by this thing. So it already feels bad. Like, I'd have no issue with this going down to 1, but hey, at least it went down to 2, I guess. The Scion of Ashaya got a little bit of a buff. It now starts off as a 2/2, so that makes it a little bit better to you can put it out earlier and not feel as bad. Next up, we got all the Titans, which I am very excited about. I have made a Titan deck before that basically used at least one copy of every Titan. And with this change, I am going to revisit it, and I am going to make it again and hopefully make it better. So the Titans are their last buff. They went to 6 mana, make them easier to put out. And now with this buff, they're at 7/7. So they're all 6/7/7s that have abilities whenever they are played and whenever they attack. So I am definitely messing with this again. That might be the first video that I put out, actually. Maybe. We'll see. Cerulean Dragon is getting overall it's a buff. It's going from 4/2/2 to a 3/1/2, and that's good. You can get it out faster, and it can start getting its benefits from you drawing cards. And overall, it's a buff because if you put it on turn 3, whenever you go to turn 4, you'll at least draw 1 card, which will make it 2/3. That's already above what it would be at turn 4. So overall, a buff. I think that's very good. I'm gonna have to start using it. The Winter Grip Mage has also have a slight buff. It used to be a 2/1/3. Now it's going to be a 2/2/3. This makes it so that, I mean, usually before, the only reason you'd have this thing is you'd either be trying to get a free card for something like Ashiok, or you just wanted to have the extra chill win in your hand, or the extra spell if you're like a Rao. But with this, now he's a decent blocker. He's a decent attacker. Not really attacker, but you know, you can use him for attacking with him being a 2/3 now. So that's a good little buff for him. We have some Awoken Horror changes. This is pretty much leading straight to Rao nerfs. There's a couple of Rao nerfs. Give me a second, I need to drink some of my tea. Oh my god, thank you. So it's going from a 6/5 to a 5/4. That's really good. Not even just the attack. The attack going down is very, very helpful. But the defense, the health going down is huge. Because instead of you needing, you know, two damage creatures, instead of needing 3 of them, you only need 2, because it only has 5 health instead of 4 health. So I said all of that completely fucked up. I just woke up not that long ago. It's good that the Awoken Horror, their defense, the health has gone down. It's going to make it easier to destroy it early on, which is a good thing. Wrong Turn is getting a nice little buff. It used to be that whenever it came out with a miracle, it would only cost 3. Now whenever it comes out with a miracle, it only costs 2. That's really good. I've used this card in a couple of my other decks whenever it comes to just wanting a lot of removal. So the fact that they did this just makes it better for people who have already used it, and hopefully it will be, they're hoping that new people will try it and throw it into decks, because I mean, drawing the card and it only costing 2 mana to destroy anything, you know, that doesn't have ward, it's good. That's a good thing. Champion of the Parish is getting a buff. It's going from 2/1 to 3/1. This is an awesome buff to zombies. It looks like they say it pretty much right there in the patch notes that pretty much everybody's using Liliana Reanimator right now. And this is like a buff to try to help the zombie playstyle of Liliana, which is still very valid, by the way. Like, Liliana zombies is very good. If you're not trying to do the Lich jank, you know, by winning by turn 3 or 4, messing around with zombies is fun. Speaking of the Lich, they lowered its attack from 9 to 8, essentially giving people an extra round to try to deal with it. The Lich Reanimator deck is, and Grimjaw is here too. We could say what's happening with him too. He's going from 9 to 8 as well, essentially just making it so that you have an extra turn to deal with these guys whenever they come out. So when it comes to the Lich Reanimator deck, if you have the counters in your deck for it, then you like literally don't have to worry about it. If you don't have the counters in your deck for it, then you're gonna lose. Like that's pretty much one of those two options. So like if you haven't been facing any Lilianas, and you'll make your deck that way, so that, oh well, there hasn't been any Lilianas, so we'll just, you know, play whatever. And then you'll face a Liliana Lich, and you're just gonna fucking lose. And then you're gonna throw counters in, and then you're not gonna face any Lilianas. I mean, it just decides, you know, what you decide you want to do, and how many people are running around doing Liliana Lich. But hey, if you do have the counter for them, you'll get an extra turn to use it. So there you go. Stitcher's Scab is getting a nerf. It's going from a 2/2/2 to a 2/1/1, basically making it so that they want you to use it the way that people are using it, like for Teferi. They want you to keep it in your hand, and then whenever you have a million mana gems, then you put it out and it becomes a monster. They're saying that lowering the 2/2 to the 1/1 makes it so that it's not as viable in the early game. But I mean, honestly, nobody was using it in the early game. Like nobody. So yes, this is a nerf, but I mean, it's not gonna change anything with it. The people who are using it are gonna use it. Bags of Tricks gets a nice little buff. This is a 2-cost 3-trigger artifact. Now it's a 3-trigger artifact. It used to be a 2-trigger artifact. So this is a nice little way of, you know, getting extra creatures into your hands whenever it comes to red decks and like all that stuff. So I actually like that. I like Bag of Tricks. I use it in a couple different of my decks. So that little buff is helpful. Mindless Rage. Overall, I think that the Barbarian skill class is the weakest skill class out of all of them. And that's not really the Barbarian's fault. I think the other classes are just much better. Not that the Barbarian is weak, because the last Barbarian charge, like if you play towards the mentality of it, it can be, you know, hate warning. But they did give its second card a little bit of a buff, going from 3 mana to 2 mana. That's why it's easier to use. And honestly, this makes it so as soon as you get it, you should just throw it out there. That way you can get towards your last level of Barbarian. Eternal Phoenix gets a buff. Overall, it's a buff. It used to be a 4 mana 2/2. Now it's a 3 mana 2/1, which there's nothing wrong with. You're able to get it out earlier. And even though it lost its one of its health, it dying early is a good thing, because that just means it's gonna go back into your deck and you'll be able to draw it again. So there's nothing wrong with that. So that's an overall good buff. I think I have the Phoenix. I should have at least one Phoenix. I'm gonna have to look. The Minotaur gets a buff. He was a 3/3, now he's a 4/3. I think this is bad. It's not absolutely horrible, but I mean, you know, red aggro is a thing. It's always been a thing, and I know that's, you know, what red is famous for. And I don't think that the Minotaur needed a buff. I think he was completely fine. His health stayed the same, so that means you can block it with anything that you could have blocked it before and be completely cool. But yeah, I don't think he needed that. Who was asking for Minotaur to be stronger? Well, who out there was like, I think the Minotaur should be stronger? I wasn't fucking saying that. Pyromancer gets a nerf. It used to be 3 mana, now it's bumped up to 4 mana. This is another overall nerf to the Rao composition. This makes it so that they can't put this out super early and absolutely swamp you with Emberlings. So this is a very good thing. Oh yeah, point of order. I did actually join the main Discord, because why not? There's no point in me not being in there. So the Rals in there, they are all saying that Ral is dead, and you know the king has fallen, or one of the kings, because Teferi's still around. But we'll see what happens. Oh no. Somebody's ringing the doorbell. Dog's going crazy. I'll be back. Alright, I'm back. The dog killed who was at the door. We had to hide the body. Everything's fine now. Pasture Prowler. So it's a buff that takes it to a 4/4. Your opponent still gets a sheep. This honestly isn't bad. The sheep that the opponent gets is what, a 1/1? So you get a 4/4, they get a 1/1. But then they just block your 4/4 with their 1/1, and now you have a 4/3. It could be interesting. There could be some stuff that you can do with this, because I mean it's a 2/4/4. Even if they do get a 1 out of it, there can be plays with that. What do we have? Balance of Ogre Power. So this is getting a buff. It's going from having 2 charges to having 3 charges, which is honestly really interesting. Literally the deck that I put out earlier today was every single creature in that deck besides 2, they all cost 1 mana. So, you know, they're not beefy creatures. And with this, 3 charges, turning a friendly creature to 5. I mean, I already see use to this now that it has 3 charges. So, I may be reevaluating my 1 mana deck. Maybe throw that in there. We got the Tree Lookout going from a 2/3/2 to a 2/3/3. If you have green and if you're worried about Teferi, I mean, this is just like a must-have right now. It's only a 2-drop, and the fact that it's a 3/3 just makes it even better. So that's a good little buff for green, especially against Teferi. Alabaster Faith. This used to be a +1/+1 attack and draw a card. Now it's a +1/+0 attack and draw a card. It was a strong card, and the fact that it's blue-white, like the whole reason this is getting nerfed, I completely blame Teferi because it's a blue-white card. It's a good card. It was a good card overall, and the fact that Teferi's so good, they had to nerf this. So the nerf of this card was all your fault, Teferi. Last but not least, Heron's Grace. It was a 5/4/4. Now it is a 5/4/3. They did that just to make it easier to get rid of it, because it's pretty hefty whenever it's on the field. The fact that at the end of every single turn it wards all the other creatures, that's a pretty big deal. So It's still very strong. They just made it easier for you to get rid of it. Scoozy. These are the bug fixes that they have done. You may pause and look through them if you wish, because I am not going to read them all out loud. And that's probably going to be the video for today. Just explaining the patch notes to everybody. I know other people also have patch notes videos, but for the 1 or 2 of you who exclusively watch my content, I'm sure there's not that many of y'all. This video is for y'all. That way you are in the loop of what is happening. And I do have gameplay video from the video that I made earlier today. I actually made it last night. I just put it out earlier today. So go check that out if you want gameplay. And then we'll jump into this new era of Magic Spellslingers. Hopefully I'll see you in another one of my videos. Wee.